Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fans of all ages, we're bringing you the Mr. Maple eBay here on the Maple Mafia channel. Y'all, get excited. We got a lot of cool things going off today on today's eBay. Y'all, if y'all don't know anything about us, we're mrmaple.com. Family mail order business shipped directly to your door. And we've been listing a lot of cool and rare, interesting plants on our eBay. It allows us to list some things that we wouldn't normally list on our website and offer some things for the very first time and offer some things that are very rare, extremely unique. Guys, starting off, a lot of these items, this video is airing at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of the first items start going off at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time all the way to about 9-10 p.m. tonight. So that's all Eastern Standard Time. And every 10 minutes, there's something coming off. But y'all, there's also 10 more items going on. So every single, actually 20 items going off, but there's 20 items going on. So every time an item goes off every 10 minutes, there's another item going on. You can actually click, when you find these items, you can click on see sellers other items, and you can actually go through and see all the trees we currently have listed. And it'll be changing every 10 minutes from 6 p.m. to 9-10 p.m. The very first thing that we have going off today is an awesome plant. It's Acer Scoochi. This is the rare Mexican cloud forest maple. It's a sugar maple-like member. It's the only maple that lives south of the equator. There's 5 disjunct populations of Acer Scoochi in Mexico and Guatemala, and they're extremely, extremely rare. They're endangered due to deforestation, and Acer Scoochi is really awesome. We've been growing it for a few years here at Mr. Maple. And we've got a liner that's available here on eBay. You can't bring them across from Mexico anymore. They're protected. And this population came to the United States before that. And we can actually sell them since they're here in the continental United States. It's something that's extremely rare. Most people can't get a hold of. Guys, we're dropping Acer Scoochi liner here on the eBay channel. Take advantage of this. It's a really cool plant. Gets out there and gives you some great yellow fall color. The leaf looks very similar to a typical sugar maple, but it is very distinctive and different. Whenever we had Peter Gregory in the United States, we actually got him to actually look at the Acer Scoochi leaf, make sure and confirm that these appear to be completely true to form. So this strand of Acer Scoochi has been confirmed by Peter Gregory himself that this is the correct species. Extremely rare. Y'all take advantage of that coming off today. That's going to be going off at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next up, we've got Martha Ghost. Now, Martha Ghost is one of the rarest member of the Ghost series. They have a reticulated variegation. And years ago, when Matt and I were reading through the Maple Society booklets, we saw the listing of the Ghost series. And we love Japanese maples. And we saw this, like, I got to read this article by Talon Buchholz. And we're like, okay, first ghost, grandma ghost, baby ghost, sister ghost, uncle ghost, purple ghost, amber. We're like, we've got all these ghosts. Yeah. And then we're like, Martha Ghost. Wait a second. I've never even heard of this. No one has this. And so it became our mission to search out Martha Ghost. And we actually found someone who Talon had sold Martha Ghost to before. They dug it up and mailed it to us. We worked out an awesome deal with them, and we got that plant and started grafting it and producing it. And guys, Martha Ghost becoming available first through eBay. We've got a 1 gallon available today. That's going to be going off at 6:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on eBay. Take advantage of this. It's a really cool ghost type. Talon, his nursery manager was Martha. When she no longer worked there anymore, he quit producing it. And when he came here to Mr. Maple and saw Martha Ghost, he said, if it looked that good, I'd still be producing it. Well, guys, we got it at Buchholz. I think it was just one of those things where someone didn't work for you anymore. You didn't want to produce it because it looks amazing out there in Oregon as well. It's one of the slowest members of the Ghost series. It gives you some really nice pink-red colors on it. And for me, it's simply amazing. Next up on the list going off today, and I'm talking about these trees in the order that they're going off, I've got Acer Shirasanum Magic Moon. Magic Moon. It's a Acer Shirasanum. The leaf can crumple a little bit. You get some yellow malting in there. Really unique. Jonathan Savlich, the same guy who found Lillian's Jewel and introduced that in the trade, actually found this, traded it to us, told us to introduce it, and put a name on it. And it was just a chance seedling that he'd had. And when we started grafting it and evaluating, we're like, there's nothing else quite like this. The malting yellow variegation on Acer Shirasolemnum, very unique. We listed this years ago. We sold too many of them. Finally, this year, we were able to actually get it in production, but the demand is way higher than we can actually produce still. Magic Moon, awesome tree, drop in later this evening. Next up, we got Koi, another one here from our Area 51 collection. It is in that Makawa family collection as well. It's got that tightly layering habit, just like Makawa Yetsubusa, and it's got some really nice bronze colors in the early spring. Midsummer, you can get some almost yellow new growth on it. It is a next level tree, but the fall color, it's possibly the best fall color Makawa type. And that is one of the things that makes Koi exceptional. It's a slow grower being in that Makawa family collection. And because it's in that Makawa family collection, and those are such hits, this one is going to get a lot of attention. The next one, too, is Red Panda. And Red Panda is the best red selection in that Makawa family collection. We evaluated thousands and thousands and thousands. We're talking 20,000 plus seedlings from Makawa Yetsubusa. Out of that, there's probably at least 10,000, maybe 8,000 red Makawas. And we introduced this one because it was the best one. It had the best red color, and it held that red longer throughout the season, had red new growth during the summer. Everything about Red Panda made this one the best. And there's lots of red Makawa seedlings out there. We've sold plenty on mrmaple.com. Red Panda, by hands down, the best. It's one that we patented, and it's one that we released for the very first time this year. This one's get a lot of attention as well. Red Panda, by far the best. And I like the name too, because it's just, you think about Red Panda as being that little small, little cute, furry little animal. This thing's going to look very lively with that red color in the spring. Next level. Next up, we've got a Skydopides, a Japanese umbrella pine that is also just the best of the best. This is Jansen's variegated. It is a Skydopides, a Japanese umbrella pine. It looks, Japanese umbrella pines, they kind of look cartoonesque of what you think of a pine tree, because the needles are very bubbly. It's not like a little straight needle like you normally have that's just real thin. Well, it is straight. It's really bubbly and conical in its habit, and it is just awesome. But then Jansen's variegated has yellow variegation on top of that. So you've got this yellow variegation and with the green needles and the yellow needles. Love the Japanese umbrella pines. They're expensive to produce because the rootstock is very expensive. They don't produce a lot of seed, so you don't really get seedlings to graft to. Rooted cuttings are really difficult to do. So literally, the rootstocks for these are like $25 a piece. And that's one of the reasons why Skydopides are rare in the trade. Take advantage of this. It's a variegated Skydopides. And I don't think there's been many people producing Skydopides since our friend Dennis Dodge recently passed away. There's not a lot of people out there offering retail awesome selections of Skydopides. Jansen's variegated, an awesome selection, but make sure you give it good drainage, morning sun, protection from the hot afternoon sun for best growth rate. It's going to be one of those types, though, that if you have branches that come out that are solid green, you want to prune those out. Think of this as almost the Lillian's Jewel rainbow of the Skydopides, because that's what this is. It's yellow variegation on the green, and it is awesome. Next up, we got a 1 gallon snow kitten, Yamayuki. This is Yukiyama, whatever you want to call it. This is a variegated Makawa Yetsubusa with pink and white swirls on green. Tightly layering habit, slow growing. One of the most hyped up Japanese maples of 2024. We sold out of many of them on mrmaple.com. When we list them, you know, you could have 100 or 200 of these gone in literally 10, 15 seconds. There's one here on eBay for people who can't get in there and actually fight and get one, because it's going to be a while till we can offer what we offered this year. We were just lucky and blessed that when we bought Buckholt's Nursery this past year, Talon had it in major production. So we were able to offer them in bigger numbers this year. But this is one of the last 1 gallons that we'll have for a little bit on Mr. Maple through our eBay. Snow Kitten, awesome selection, slow growing. This is one, though, that if you don't prune on it, you may get some more green leaves. So go in there, prune on this tree. The best variegated Snow Kittens and Yukiyamas come at nurseries. You see them at nurseries because they're constantly pruned on to promote variegation. If you prune on this late February, early March, just prune the tips, you're going to promote more variegation. You may not see it at first when it first leaves out. The second flush is really you see the most of this. And even sometimes a week or two after it's leafed out, when you start to see this, the almost second push, even in the spring, you get more variegation on that as well. We got a whole video on how to prune Arino Nishiki style Japanese maples, and that applies to Snow Kitten too because it has the same style variegation, but on a Makawa form. Keep that in mind. Amazing selection though. It's one of the most striking Makawa variegated types of them all. Listing are going off today, later this evening. Guys, next up we've got Hatode. This is a selection by Talon Buchholz. Talon was overseas over at Piet Vergelt's place and saw a tree that had a leaf that cupped down and said, hey, that looked like a starfish. And Piet Vergelt didn't tell him, but Piet named it Peve Starfish because Talon had said it looked like a starfish. Well, Talon still had that in his brain. Later came back and found a green Acer Shirasanum-like hybrid at his nursery. And he said, the leaves cup downward. I'm going to call it starfish. And Japanese for starfish is Hatode. And that's where this one gets its name. So, you know, you've got Hatode, which translates to starfish. There's Peve starfish that's out there. Great companion plants. Hatode is a little bit slower growing than Peve starfish. And it's green, gives some really nice yellows to oranges in the fall. It is an Acer Shirasanum hybrid. But I'll tell you, most of the convex trees that have that cup down foliage are likely Acer Shirasanum hybrids, according to Cor van Gelderen. So you know, Trompenberg, ex Shirasanum, Shirasanum palmatifolium, cups downward as well. A lot of those that have that cup down leaf got some Acer Shirasanum in them. Hatode is one of those trees that's really unique. It's a slow grower, and it's one of those trees that really stands out. Make sure you give it good drainage. Don't overwater it because it is a slow grower. That's the truth with all slow-growing Japanese maples. And it's going to be one that's pretty awesome. This one's pretty rare, too, to see in the trade. Speaking of rareness, the next one going off is Mayday. And Mayday is one of the most sought-after Makawa forms. It's a selection by Talon Buchholz. The original name on this was Joy of May. Matt and I were at Buchholz Nursery, and we were walking around, and we saw Japanese Princess. We're enthralled by it. We're going around. We saw the original Pinky. We're like, wow, check this out. And then we saw in a 3-gallon, it was labeled Joy of May originally. And we said, what in the world is this? And one evening I was having dinner with Talon when the Maple Society was visiting here in Asheville. And I said, here's my list of trees that I think are really important that I'd love to get a hold of. And I had Joy of May, and then shortly after that, he released May Day. He switched the name over to May Day on it, and it is a Makawa type that leaps out as like this just striking, just like apricot kind of tangerine kind of color, and then goes to a yellow, like a yellow-green that is very different than many of the other colorful Makawa variants. Slow growing. When we list these, they're gone really quickly. Here's your chance to get one through eBay, and awesome selection. Now, next up, we've got Millstone Dark Red. This is by Millstone Nursery, the nursery that brought us Summer Sunset with Tumka Red. They brought us a lot of really good heat-tolerant red uprights for the South. This one, possibly one of the best. And extremely dark red, extremely heat-tolerant. It's going to be one that hasn't been offered before on MrMaple. We released one earlier this year on eBay. It's one that's going to just be that dark color that is extremely heat tolerant, can handle more sun than many of the other red uprights. It's a 1-gallon. Take advantage of this. Really cool, really awesome. Next up, we've got Acer Subaldianum Ingolstadt. This is an extremely rare. Acer Subaldianum. Some people list it as a palmatum because it looks very palmatum-like. It's got that Matsumuri style leaf. This is a selection that was introduced in the trade by our late friend Dick Vandermatt. Rarely ever been offered in the United States. We offered it once at an open house. We've offered it once before on eBay. This is the only other time Ingolstadt has been ever offered. Today, going off this evening, Acer Subuldianum Ingolstadt. Really cool, really awesome. Now, next up, we've got Acer Palmatum Ojishi. This is the male line. Slower growing, a little bit flatter leaf. Shishigashira, you'll notice, often has more of a twisting leaf to the leaf. Ojishi's got a little bit flatter leaf, and it's much, much slower growing. It's got a similar fall color where you can get some really nice yellows, oranges, and some reds, maybe late. But you'll notice the stark difference when you have the two side by side. The Shishigashira is more vigorous, and the leaf typically gets a little more twist to the leaf itself. Now, Shishi is the female lion. Ojishi is the male lion. And in ancient Japanese literature, it's kind of like saying Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse would be Shishigashira, Minnie Mouse would be Ojishi. Now, Shishigashira is way more popular, probably because it's more vigorous and it's easier for people to propagate. Ojishi's much slower growing. So to get a Welsh pot like this Ojishi, typically here at MrMaple, it would take me probably 3 or 4 years to get this size. This one actually came from Buckholtz Nursery, and they grow them a little bit faster out there. And just the way the climate is, it pushes varieties like Ojishi to get a little bit more growth than typical. Y'all, this is an awesome tree to get today. Really rare. Put it out there with your Shishigashira, compare them, and have the male lion and the female lion together. Awesome opportunity to be able to get Ojishi. Next up, y'all, we're bringing you a lot of awesome talent Buckholtz introductions. We've got Japanese Princess. This is one of the best pink Makawa types, and the leaf twists. If it wasn't even for the color, this is such a unique texture in the landscape. It's going to be an awesome one to pick up today. Guys, next up, we've got an introduction here from us at mrmaple.com. This is one we put a name on and introduced it in the nursery trade. It was found by Masao Shiano. I'm talking about Hot Tamale. And Masao Shiano had a code name working on this one. And he told us, he said, I don't want it to be put into the trade under that name. Will you please put a name on it if you're going to be propagating it? We said, of course. So then we said, is it fine to call this one Hot Tamale? And he said, of course. And so we got his blessing on Hot Tamale. And we also, and Hot Tamale is one of the ones that has that coral pink color. It's an Acer Olive Random, extremely heat tolerant. It's part of our Heat Seeker series. It's possibly one of the most heat tolerant Japanese maples that we've ever offered. It's likely an Olive Random X Palmatum. There's this one Acer Olive Random at World Maple Park. And it's in Uda, Japan, where Matt and I got to go visit Masao Shiano. And he's got all of his Japanese maples planted around. And he collects seed off of this one Acer Olive Random, and he found Hot Tamale. And it's just got this kind of coral pink color. It's got a leaf that's almost like a palmatum, almost like a Acer Olive Random. Vigorous, upright tree. Great, great yellows to red fall color. Depends on if you're in deep shade. You may get more yellows. More sunlight will bring out more of those red colors. Hot Tamale, awesome selection by Masao Shiano, introduced by us at MrMaple. And the sister seedling to it is next. It is Hot Sauce. Now, Hot Sauce is the tree that every nurseryman had heard about forever. And there were rumors that Masao Shiano had this tree in Japan, the red Acer Olive Random. Acer Olive Random gives you this heat tolerance that's unlike any other Japanese maple. It's vigorous. It seeks out the sun, grows more vigorously in the sun. And here, Masao Shiano had found a red, upright Acer Olive Random. Now, with Hot Sauce, again, it had a code name. And we had the privilege and honor to being able to put a name on this, getting permission from Masao Shiano and introducing this one into the trade. And that is so cool because everybody had been talking about this for years. I mean, all the other nurserymen that traveled to Japan would say, you know, I think Masao Shiano, I've heard rumors he has a red Acer Olive Random. And we were able to introduce it to the trade here through MrMaple. Honor and privilege. Masao Shiano passed away a few years ago during the summer. Good friend of ours. We'd been communicating for years on Facebook before we ever met, before we went and visited him in Japan. And so cool that we were able to introduce Hot Tamale and Hot Sauce that he found and that we put a name on. Now, the last one is actually a sister seedling to both of those, but it's one that we found. When we were at World Maple Park, Masayoshi gave us permission to collect seed off of that Acer oliveranum at his park. And at his park, it was so cool because that day when we went and visited him, he took us to his Area 51. He didn't call it Area 51, but he took it to his secret stash. He had this one greenhouse hidden behind this old school because this old school had been turned into World Maple Park. And he had this one greenhouse. He took us back there too. And he had a sessilifolium angel feather structure Acer oliveranum. He thought it was so cool, so awesome. And we did too. I mean, it's just next level. He allowed us to collect seedlings off of the same tree that he'd found that one on, and hot tamale and hot sauce. And we collected seed from it. And from that seed, we found hot chicken. And it's got an angel feather leaf structure similar to the one that he was showing and bragging us about. It is vigorous, heat tolerant. It's got that unique leaf structure where each of the lobes are deeply divided back, making it in that same grouping like Hagoromo, Bini Hagoromo, Hanezu Hagoromo, Burkage Jacaspatus, but it's an Acer oliveranum. It's vigorous, got great color. And I've seen some amazing fall color photos of hot chicken. People posting them in the Mr. Maple Friends group on Facebook. Just reds, sometimes red infused with like the green veining. It's an amazing tree, and it's going to be extremely heat tolerant. So sunlight, Acer oliveranums love it. Next up, y'all, we got cashmere. This is another introduction by us at Mr. Maple. We found this one as a chance seedling, and we went through tons and tons and tons of seed. And this one was unique because it had very thread-like foliage in the early spring, more so than Kotonuito, almost looking fair hair-like when it first leaves out. And then the leaf gets a little bit larger, still thinner than something like Kotonuito, but then the leaves start getting some twist to it. And it's one that we really enjoyed. We sent one to Talon Buchholz, and he started propagating immediately after he saw how it grew. And for us, it was vigorous, some really nice dark bark, but the twisting leaf, and that was so thread-like, was definitely something that was really interesting. Y'all, we're dropping one of the cashmeres today. This evening, it's going off this evening on our eBay channel. Next up, we've got kryptonite. And this is a variegated Makawa Yetsubusa that has leaves like Manino Sato. It's hard to beat that. It's one of the coolest variegated Makawa types I've ever seen. And when it first leaves out, you don't see as much variegation like when it very first leaves out. And then as that late spring happens, midsummer, that variegation is extremely pronounced. One of the other things about kryptonite that makes this mutation that happened on Makawa Yetsubusa, just a sport that happened is what kryptonite was, that makes this tree really unique is the fall color. You get a lot more shades of yellows with oranges, not as much reds with kryptonite, which has been really interesting. I mean, you can have a lot of Makawa types out there lined up for fall color. The kryptonite, starkly different, more on that yellow side with a little bit of orange in there. Something you don't see very frequently in the Makawa family collection is more of that yellows with a little bit of orange. You know, Makawa may start out that way and then gets a lot more oranges and reds. Kryptonite, definitely more on that yellow side in the fall, just like this yellow-orange, which is really awesome. Next up, y'all, we've got Makawa KN. And this is the second to last thing that's going off this evening. Makawa KN, it basically means Makawa gold. KN means gold. And this one gives you some great bronze golden color in the early spring. One that we don't offer too frequently. Slow grower. Excellent Makawa family collection type. And then lastly at 9:10 p.m., what's going off this evening, the last thing that's going off this evening, Mystic Makawa. This is the slowest growing Makawa selection, bright orange in the spring. It's one that's heavily sought after. It's that mystical Makawa that gives you that orange color. Y'all, there's so many cool Makawa variants going off this evening. You better be paying attention. 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time all the way through 9:10 p.m. And y'all, we've got a podcast that airs at 8 p.m. on the Mr. Maple Show YouTube channel. So you can go Jump in the live chat there. A lot of people will be talking about these trees that are going off on eBay during that live chat. Y'all, make sure you jump in quickly on some of these items, because these items are items. I'm not so sure that there'll be many of these, of any of these, getting listed again coming up on the eBay channel soon. So take advantage of these, guys. This may be some of the last really like next level stuff coming up on eBay. It's been awesome being able to offer so many cool things. I mean, eBay allows us to let go of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 more stock plants than we normally would. And that gives you an opportunity to get some of these cool plants that you wouldn't be able to have an offer, be able to get a hold of. Thank y'all for jumping in today's eBay show here on the Maple Mafia channel. And if you're not subscribed here, make sure you're subscribed here, but also check out our sister companion channel, the MrMaple Show. That's our primary channel where we put out daily content on Japanese maples and gardening. Thank you all so much. Take care. God bless, and have a great day.